Hello. Good evening. If somebody could just reply whether I'm audible to them or not. Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. This is Anush Jain, and I welcome you all for this virtual training orientation session for the Indore Democratic Summit 2025. I am honored to host you all alongside the team, and this conference is hosted by the Indore Municipal Corporation and YouthGenex together under the esteemed guidance of the Mayor of Indore, Mr. Pushyamitra Bhargav. During this session of roughly an hour, we'll be telling you all about the conference procedure, how can you all research, how can you all look into the conference, and how can all of you manage to excel in the same. As a part of the same, we'll be using two presentations, namely, one is the rules of procedure for the Indore Democratic Summit, and the second one being the how to master the art of youth parliaments. I request you all to please use the chat box in case you have any queries or any doubts, and we'll be more than happy to solve them then and there. Moving on with the rules of procedure. So this session is divided into 15 major topics, and we'll be going through one by one, each of them one by one. I'll start with the representations. So this representation is basically the portfolio that you're all representing in the various committees. For example, every committee has its own portfolio representation. Lok Sabha, Rajya Sabha, All India political party meet. They have party leaders or the members of parliament as their representatives. While when you go to other committees, they have representatives like bureaucrats and a very few select politicians. So if I tell you all about the representation, it is a blend of politicians and bureaucrats in various committees. So this is all about the representation part. Moving ahead is the language. The conference is completely a bilingual conference, and you can use both the languages during the conference. You can either use Hindi or English. You can also use Sanskrit or any other language for expressing poems or any quotes or any certain thing that you wish to do there. So that's about the language. If you're using any other language than English and Hindi, please specify the meaning of the language. And in case of there is any ambiguity, the Bureau can clarify the same. Third is the attire, as you all have been asking a question on what should be the attire or the dress code for the conference. The dress code for the conference is Indian traditionals for all the 3 days, and use of electronic devices is permitted. You can bring your electronic devices on your own risk and make sure you take care of them during the conference. However, the Bureau has the right to impose restrictions on the same. All the committees start harmoniously with the national song. So all the members stand in the committee, and this opening ritual is to mark the patriotism and the feeling of nationalism amongst all the participants. While the end of the committee is through the national anthem. Again, we start on a patriotic note and we end on the patriotic note itself. Moving forward to the Bureau. Bureaus are the moderators of the committee. So what do the moderators do? They help us guide the committee. They help all of you to know how the committee would work. They'll guide you. They'll give you various views. There is instances on how you all can be a part of the decision making and the policy making in the government, and what are your roles. They act as strict monitors, mentors, and even judges for the result declaration. Next is quorum. Quorum is basically the minimum number of participants that is required for a committee to function. So it should be at least 1/5 of the total committee strength. That will tell you on the very first day. Setting an agenda. All right. Members, when we talk about the setting up of an agenda or how things can work, So basically, the whole point is every committee has an agenda. That is the main agenda. And since it is basically, just give me a second. Okay, so every committee has its own agenda, but as a part of the protocol of the parliament and the sessions, first of all, an agenda is set by the team, by the that we have set now as the members of the house. You'll have to vote upon the same agenda, whether you are accepting the agenda. If you're accepting the agenda, there has to be a voting, and I'll explain the voting in the later part. For simple motions, for these motions, simple majority is required, and that is enough to set up an agenda. Next is the opening statement. Opening statement is basically the introductory speech that each member has to give in the house, and it is a compulsory statement. So the time is 90 seconds, and there are no questions that can be asked during the opening statements. So you all one by one, every member stands and gives their point of views on the agenda, on the agenda of the committee. You can use any language as I mentioned earlier, and this is about the agenda, no sub agendas in general. It is about the agenda in general, your views, your party's views, your portfolio's views on the agenda. Moving ahead with the opening statement, I again specify that the timing of the opening statement is 90 seconds per participant, and there are no questions that can be asked during the opening statements. Next is the sessions of the house. There are two sessions in the house. One is short duration formal discussion session, and one is short duration informal discussion session. Since the conference is of less than 5 days, we have short duration formal discussions and short duration informal discussions. So here you choose the sub agendas for the same. So now after the agenda is done, you have a sub agenda. After your opening statements, a motion is raised for the sub agendas. So any member of parliament would raise their placards, the bureau would recognize. And how do you raise a motion there? I, I so and so, the member of the parliament from so and so constituency, would like to raise a motion to move into a short duration formal discussion session on the topic XYZ topic, for the total time being dash dash minutes, and per speaker time being 10 minutes or 1 minute at max. Total time can be 10 minutes and 1 minute to 1.5 minutes as per the committee's requirements and the committee's discretion. So this is how you raise a motion. I repeat it again. I, the member of parliament from dash constituency, would like to raise a motion to move into a short duration formal discussion session on the topic XYZ, for the total time being 10 minutes and the per speaker time being 5 minutes. Per speaker time being 60 seconds. That is how we raise a motion and how we raise an agenda. So in this short duration hour, basically the bureau is the one who's moderating the whole session, and the bureau is the one who's guiding the whole session. So they'll tell you when to speak, they'll recognize you for the questions also if needed, and similarly things are going to work ahead. You cannot speak unless you're recognized in the short duration formal discussion session. So make sure that you're recognized before you are speaking. Fine. A person can give one speech in the short duration formal discussion session and ask many questions. You can even ask questions via chat if you're not recognized for asking questions in general. I hope I'm clear till now. If I'm clear, please drop a yes in the text in the chat box. All right. Thank you so much. Moving ahead is the second session, that is a short duration informal discussion session. So during these sessions, it is basically an informal or an unmoderated session for the committee members to discuss and deliberate individually amongst themselves on what can be the sub agenda, what are the things that you're looking forward to in the next half of the committee or next half of the conference, what motions do you want to use, or do you want to research, or you want to formulate the documentation for the committee. And there is a maximum time limit for the same. So you can take short duration informal sessions between the sessions. So make sure one formal session is complete, then only you can go for the informal sessions. After the opening statement, you cannot ask POIs because opening statements don't accept POIs. You can ask POIs during the short duration formal discussion sessions. You can call the informal discussion session as lobbying, but the formal term to use is short duration informal discussion session. I'll explain this again. So a short duration informal session is basically like a lobbying time for the whole committee where you all can discuss and decide amongst yourself on what topics you have to research, on what topics you guys have to work upon ahead, and how are you gonna go ahead. POIs would come later in the next half. Lobbying is the time where you all can discuss and deliberate amongst the fellow community members on making a consensus or getting the majority for getting votes and making sure that your agenda looks and goes ahead for discussions in the house. Moving forward to the next is points. As you guys were asking about the points, I'll begin with the first one. First one, after this, no, you can not ask the questions or POIs after the opening statements. You can ask them after the short duration formal sessions where people put forward their speeches. Now, if I talk about the points of personal privilege, there are 5 points that we'll be looking forward to in this segment. First one being point of personal privilege, second being the point of information, third one being point of order, fourth being the point of parliamentary inquiry, and the fifth one being the right to reply. This is the order of disruption as well. So what is point of personal privilege? Basically, as the word says, personal privilege, your personal discomfort. It might be mental or physical discomfort. You can use this if you have any important phone call, if you have to use the washroom, or if there are any things that you require on your personal level. This is the only point that you can use while somebody else is speaking. No, there are no points that will be recognized during the opening statements. Everything that happens during the opening statement cannot be recognized. No points are recognized there. POIs contain marks. Mark sheets would be shared with, would be told to you in the on the second day of the conference. Next is the point of information. So during the short duration formal discussion hour, when one speaker gives any session or they talk about particular thing, and you have any questions for that particular speaker, you can raise your placard. If recognized, you can ask a question to that particular speaker. So this is the point of information. Next is point of order. So point of order is basically in youth parliaments used for the factual inaccuracy in the parliament speech or in the parliamentarian speech, or it can even be used if the bureau is not following the rules of procedure as we are explaining today. So for example, a parliamentarian makes the statement that India got its independence on 20th August 1947. So that's wrong. So you raise a point of order after his speech and you quote, you say, the parliament said that India got its independence on 20th August 1947. Unquote, India got its independence on 15th August 1947. So that is how you quote and unquote a session. Moving ahead, what is the difference between opening statement and GSL, as one of you have asked? A GSL is a non-exhaustive list. Opening statement is an exhaustive list. So in the UN committees, you can never go for a you go for a GSL and it has to continue till the time committee is working. Here in the youth parliament, once the opening statements are done, then only we move forward to the next segment of short duration formal sessions or short duration informal session. Up next is the point of parliamentary inquiry. So basically, if you want to know about the bureau, about the rules of procedure from the bureau at that time, you can ask this. If you want to know anything related to the parliamentary proceedings at that time, you can take the points in consideration. Next is the right to reply. If any parliamentarian during their speech has said something that is given, that is directly mentioned to you, or something that is directly offensive, or something that has hurt your personal or your party sentiments, you can raise a question and raise as the right to reply. How do we raise a right to reply? Again, after the speech, you raise the placards. If there's an issue, you can, if there is a personal sentiments or party sentiments that have been hurt, you can go ahead with the point with the right to reply, and the bureau can recognize you if needed. It's all on the recognition of the bureau. Now, moving ahead with the amendments. First is friendly amendment and second is amendments. So basically, amendments are additions, deletions, or replacements in the documentation of the committee. So if there is a documentation that has been made in the committee and you want to make certain changes to it or certain changes to the same, you can raise an amendment. Now, amendments are of two types. One is a friendly amendment, one is a normal amendment. Friendly amendments somebody suggested it, and the other person later on said, okay, it's fine. They agreed on a mutual basis without the voting. So they make the amendment that way. So it's a friendly amendment, while the other amendments require a voting. So when they require voting, it is a special amendment, right? I'll explain the point of order again. Point of order is basically any factual inaccuracy or any procedural inaccuracy that is happening in the committee and that you wish to clarify. Again, opening statement is the opening speech. Yes, I explained the point of order again. If you still want me to do it, please let me know again. Total speeches that you have to make, there is no compulsion, but the first opening statement is compulsory for all the participants. And after the opening statement, how do you have to make your speeches? When you have to make the speeches, that you have to figure out on the sub agendas that have been decided by the committee and your contribution to the same. Placards are basically your name tags that will be given to you in the committee rooms itself. So those would include the names of the portfolios that you are representing. So on getting those portfolios, you can on getting those placards, you can use them for your recognitions. So the bureau recognizes you by the names of the same. I hope I'm clear till now. Please drop a yes in the chat box if you feel I'm clear till now. You cannot ask questions, you cannot ask POIs after the opening statements. I have mentioned this quite a few times. So you cannot ask questions. Members witnessing the video live, I request you to please stop using the chat box for asking each other's portfolios or saying hi, hello to each other. You can do that later in the conference itself. All right, moving ahead from here. Types of majorities. As we talked about the majorities even initially also, there are two types of majority basically. No, there is no yielded questions here. On the time yields, the bureau can use their discretion there. Right? Whole committee will make the amendments. If I talk about the amendment, as I mentioned, there are two types of amendments. One is the friendly amendment, one is the special amendment. So what is it about the amendments there? If the parties that want the amendment to be done and the other person is accepting it easily in a friendly manner, like we do between our friends, so it's a friendly amendment. If there is a case of voting, then it's a non-friendly amendment or a special amendment there. Right? Talking, if I move ahead, okay, I'll answer your queries once again together in the end. Please wait. Stop using the chat box for any illicit purposes right now. Right. Okay. Majority. There are two types of majority basically. One is a simple majority, that is 50% plus one of the members present in the whole committee. Special majority is basically when 2/3 of the members present in the committee need to vote in favor of a motion or something like that. So usually the committees run with the simple majority. However, special majority is required only in very special cases. Okay, voting again. There are two types of voting. One is the formal voting and one is the voice voting. In the formal votings, it is by the number of counts. The number of people in the favor might raise their placards. The number of people against the motion shall raise their placards. Now when this voting is taking place through the placards, you have to keep a count. The bureau keeps a count. The number of members in the favor, if the count is more than the ones against, the motion is passed. If the count is less than those against, the motion is failed. Voice voting is basically by the bureau's discretion. They can also take the votings in the verbal format. It is on the pitch of the voice that takes place there. Members in the favor of the motion may say aye, members against may say no, may say nay. So it's on the bureau's discretion. Whichever voice is going louder for them, they keep the motion in that favor. So this is all about the rules of procedure that you'll require for the Indore Democratic Summit this year. Am I clear till now on the rules of procedure? Okay, now I'll be addressing your queries related to the rules of procedure. So please drop your queries in the chat box one by one. I'll respond to them. What is a bureau? A bureau is basically the people who are moderating the committee, who are guiding the whole committee. And these are the ones who make sure that the committee functions properly, functions as per the rules and decorum of the house. Bureaus are also called as executive board in various conferences. Second is Will there be GSL? GSLs is a UN concept. We follow the opening statement concept here. So every participant has to give an opening statement on the agenda. So it is an overall view on what the agenda is. Your personal view, your party's ideologies, and something related to that. Next is voice voting. Voice voting is basically it's about the voice pitch that you have there. So if I say members in the favor of the motion may say aye, members against may say no. So whichever voice feels louder to the bureau, that is going to be discrete. That's going to be the decision for the voting. So if the ayes are higher, it is a that the motion is passed. If the nays are higher, the motion is failed. No, the matrices will not be provided to the students, to the participants. Will then, yes, all the committees run on the same procedure. All the committees would run on the similar procedure except for Lok Sabha, Rajya Sabha, MPL, and the Indore Municipal Corporation, who have slightly a different thing. POIs cannot be asked during the opening statements. You can ask POIs only during the short duration formal sessions. The opening statements are of 90 seconds each, while the short duration session, the time might vary from 60 seconds to 90 seconds depending on the committee's view. What are amendments and when are they done? Amendments are basically changes or suggestions that you have in the documentation of the committee. So if you want to make any suggestions there or any changes there, you can raise amendments. Is that clear? Point of order is basically a factual inaccuracy that takes place. In case there is any factual inaccuracy, in case there is any particular question, any particular procedural inaccuracy, at that time you can raise a point of order. What do you mean by are there any points on the floor? It is a general statement that the bureau uses or the executive board uses. So points on the floor, the house is also referred to as a floor or the august gathering or the gathering of minds or the house of the people or so on. So at this time, we say, are there any points on the floor? If yes, you can raise a placard. How much time in the moderated or the formal sessions? It depends. Again, the committee has to vote upon it. It can be from 60 seconds to 90 seconds per speaker. Yes, there would be marks for everything that you do there. You can form alliances if needed, but you can make blocks and everything that can be done. Yes, everybody has to speak in the committees, and you cannot ask POIs, Mr. Delegate Diaries. I have been repeating this quite a few times. You cannot ask POIs during the opening statement. You can ask POIs only during the short duration formal discussion hours. Yes, everybody has to give a speech during the opening statements. Yeah, you can answer via chits also. If there is a chit that you have to answer questions, and you can answer via chits if you're not able to give the answer at the same time. Yes, we have the Press Information Bureau as well. Okay, how to prepare the GSL, I'll come on to that later. Procedure of conducting a meeting or attending the session. That's no specific procedure. Happened during the short duration formal. It is basically a moderated session for the conference. So it is a moderation. There is a substantial intervention by the bureau in the same. Your sessions or your speeches will be marked only up to the time that has been done, that has been specified. After that, the speech won't be marked. So that is the whole point. For the people who have doubts like difference between the opening statement and the GSL, or you want to understand the points again, please go through the video after the live session. So everything is clear there as well. Explain the chit system. Okay. So not everybody of you can be recognized to ask questions at the same time because the committee has a lot of things that are to be done. So what you can do is we'll be giving you the delegate kits, participation kits. So in those participation kits, you can write a question to the person. So for example, you want to ask a question to Mr. Rahul Gandhi, from Dr. Shashi Tharoor, and then you write your question. If you want this question to be marked just by the bureau, just write there via EB or via bureau. So that. No, you have to prepare only for one side of the agenda as you choose your party policy or as you choose your ideology. So if the agenda is something that you are in favor of, so start preparing accordingly. Total time for the opening statement is 90 seconds. Dear participants, we have shared a document with all of you on your respective emails with the conference resources. So please check there. For Panchayat and Commerce Challenge, there's a separate session that is scheduled at 3 o'clock. After 3 o'clock today, we'll see you there as well. Yeah, you can send chits to anybody in the particular committee. There's no draft resolution in the event, so please avoid using the word draft resolutions here. There would be 0 hour in a few committees, not in all the committees. Moving on to the next committee delegates and participants, next segment of this session, which is our guide to all of you on how you all can excel in the youth parliament, how you all can specify and improvise your research, how can you all articulate your speeches, and how can all of you make sure that your research goes to the point. If you want your chits to be marked, then only write via bureau. Placards are used for your recognition and your presence in the committee. Okay, I've told you all about youth parliament. Again, I'm telling you what is a portfolio. Basically, the person, the party, the leader, or the bureaucrat that you're representing. So know about them, have a brief idea about them. What are they doing, and everything like that. Committee is where you are, and agenda is the main issue that you'll be taking care there, right? Moving ahead is a research. How do you have to research? As I mentioned, research on the portfolio first, then research on the agenda. Use statistics also. So statistics add more weightage to your segments, your speeches, your statements that you make in the committee. How can you make the statistics more clearer is make sure the statistics are from official website, official sources, and official places only. So the statistics shall be from the official government websites preferably, and they hold the maximum value. If you quote any random statistics and somebody gives a government statistics, that would be given more weightage and they would be only considered. You can use previous statements by various leaders and even your own portfolio if there is any particular issue on that, right? Where to research from? So there are three suggestive things where you can research from. One is the official website. So all the committees have their own official websites, and all of them have their own official data also. So you can research from there. Second is like you can research from the documents and the reports of the committee. Like Law Commission has its own reports that have been published by the Law Commission, roughly 200 reports from the Law Commission, and so on. You can take the reports of the parliamentary standing committees. You can take reports from the past Supreme Court committees or past any committee that the government has created. And you can take from PRS, India, ORF, CPR, IDSA, or any such credible and authentic sources. Okay. Moving ahead with how to speak, how to present your point there. We have divided this into 4 segments. First is how you're speaking. It has to be loud, clear, confident, because every room has roughly 45 to 50, 60 students in the committee. So make sure that your voice is audible to each and every person there. Take pauses for impact. So those pauses play a very important role when you have to convey something to the people, and the tone has to be as per the leader's style. If there are leaders who are very aggressive in the parliament, you have to be aggressive by your tone. If there's somebody who's very calm in their speeches, you have to maintain that calmness. There are marks for portfolio representation as well. So make sure you listen to at least 1 or 2 speeches of your leader before you come for the session. And maintain an eye contact with the people that you're addressing. Your first person that you're addressing is the moderators, and through the moderator, you're addressing the whole house. So keep a check on that also. So be confident the way you speak. What are POIs and rebuttals? I already told you guys about POI. So you can ask sharp questions, ask intelligent questions, make sure the questions are to the point, and keep those very limited. So the questions have to be short, crisp, and to the point. And the answers are also supposed to be similarly, right? So as I told you, the opening statement, the formal discussion sessions, informal sessions, documentation, and voting is the whole idea. And the last one is overconfidence without facts. Don't quote any website or Wikipedia if you can just edit Wikipedia. Don't disrespect your peers or anybody present in the committee. And don't be silent. Participation matters. Now, a few questions that were asked in the chat box, I'll answer them. You can use Google or any other search engine, but make sure your speeches are not exactly a copy paste from there. Avoid using AI. Don't use AI. You'll just spoil your skills. You won't be able to grow if you use AI continuously. Unbiased news is allowed for research, but it cannot be considered as a credible sources. So you cannot use unbiased news. No, you cannot use AI. Any further queries that you have here, please put them in the chat box. The participants, we have also shared a conference code of conduct with all of you. Okay, so if I talk specifically about the committees like Smart City Mission, National Human Rights Council, Law Commission, etc., etc., these are moreover like a think tank. Think tank, you don't have to debate much, but you have to debate on the party policy or something like that, but you have to be debating on the agenda, giving concrete solutions to the problem that can be asked. Yeah, the bureau can ask the sources of your information. You cannot yield time to the questions. You can find cases from the very famous search engines like SCC Online, etc., etc. Yes, we'll be providing Wi-Fi on the second and the third day of the conference. Yes, this video would be available on our YouTube channel itself. So in case you missed the whole video, you can watch it there. No, you cannot use AI for the research. I'm sorry, but no newspapers and authentic sources. Formal and informal session. Basically, formal sessions are the one where there is a substantive moderation and intervention by the bureau, while the informal sessions are the one where there is no substantive intervention by the bureau. So you can discuss amongst yourselves and talk. Yes, you can see and speak. That's not an issue. You can learn while speaking. No, there are no substantive chits in the conference. The dress code, once again, I'm saying, is the Indian traditionals for the 3 days. Newspapers cannot be used as a source. A research site, as I mentioned, it can be Lok Sabha TV, loksabha.nic, sansad.nic, rajyasabha.nic, any government website, PIB, PRS. For the agendas of Rajya Sabha, please, that is, we have provided the study guides to each one of you, so you can go through the study guides for the same. Any further queries that you have? Okay, how do you have to prepare your opening statement or something like that? So basically, articulate your speeches in a manner where the point is clear to the audience. How we start is, first of all, you have to give an acknowledgement to the bureau for giving you the opportunity to speak. So you start usually by thank you so much to the honorable dais for giving me an opportunity to speak in this session. Then furthermore, how do the things work here is, you initially start with an introduction, then you explain the main point, and then you come on the conclusion. So introduction, main body, and conclusion. In middle of it, you can use quotes, poems if you want to. Like allegations, you have to search on internet, and then you have to verify those allegations with the help of the government websites. Placards I've mentioned and explained a lot of times, dear participants. Placards are basically your name cards that are given to you in the committee rooms itself. Hindi and English is allowed in each and every committee, so don't worry on that. So any further doubts that anybody of you has? Sub agendas? Okay. How can we know that it is our community? Please check your emails. You have sent the things to you. You can check it from there. POIs are not allowed during the opening statements because that is just an in general segment where everybody's talking about the agendas and you don't take POIs there. Some sub agendas that I can give you as a suggestion for all the committees is the highlights for that particular main agenda. For example, if you're talking about India as an agenda, sub agendas can be northeast, southwest, northern India, central India. So these types of things. So you have to bifurcate and break the agenda into various segments, right? I feel that's all that we have for this session. Any further specific question that can be answered, the agenda and sub agenda of the Rajya Sabha, please connect with the team for the same. They'll explain you the same. Live streaming for the committee sessions won't be there. This is the only live streaming that is happening. First day we have the inaugural ceremony. Yes, you can use electronic devices between the sessions. That's completely on the discretion of the bureau. Bureau is the executive board of the conference. Yeah, you'll get point of opening speeches. There are points for everything that you do in the conference, so keep a check on that as well. Opening statement is your first speech to the house, where you're introducing to the agendas, you're telling people about your point of views, your party's policies and ideologies on the same. Yes, you can bring your notes for the conference. That is completely permittable. Transportation would be provided. Bus routes shall be shared in this week itself. There are charging ports on every seat, so you can charge your devices there. Don't worry on that. Mics can be used. However, we would personally recommend to use speak loudly and clearly without the use of mic. The itinerary would be provided in the coming week. Yes, you can state your portfolio's past experience regarding the agendas. Please wait for the itinerary that would be shared with you by Wednesday. Yeah. There is one opening statement that you all must prepare before you come to the conference. Rest everything would happen during the conference. Sub agendas would be decided there, the voting would take place there, and so on. The sub agendas would be communicated and decided by the committee itself. Yes, you'll be marked for the opening statements as well. Don't use AI because AI is not credible. All right. Thank you so much, ladies and gentlemen. I hope you all had a great time during this session. You all can rewatch this video. It would be uploaded on YouTube itself. And for any queries or any suggestions, please feel free to reach out to the team in the Democratic Summit 2025. Thank you so much. Have a good day.